Hey guys, so I just want to make a quick video really just to talk a little bit more about the K2 meter session I did recently. Um, it was a really good session. I got a lot of good responses and pretty much a response to every question I asked. And although it was interrupted towards the end, I got a lot of information out of it. But almost with any information you get, no matter how definitive, it kind of draws more questions out. And I noticed a lot of discussions happening in the comments, so I wanted to sort of throw in my opinions on a few of them. One of the first ones then was the idea that she said she was born in '88, and she also said she was 24, which a couple of you saw as a kind of discrepancy. But my kind of thinking behind it was that she was 24 when she died, sort of thing. Like, she died maybe 3 years ago, and that was my thinking in asking the questions. In fact, I didn't want to ask directly, when did you die, because I think that's kind of an impolite question. This girl's obviously a little bit vulnerable, a little bit confused about the situation. It doesn't seem like a really nice thing to sort of bring up. So I wanted to sort of tiptoe around it, find out when she was born and how old she is, then kind of work out the difference from there, and you can kind of figure out when it was that she died, or at least that's my opinion. That's how I see it. Because at the end of the day, we don't really know how time passes for them. Do they stay the same, or do they actually literally age as normal, just continue to tally it up? Did they keep track? Like, for example, a couple of you thought maybe that Anna, born in the 1800s, like 1888 versus 1988, because I didn't actually specify, which is pretty unprofessional of me. I know what I meant. I meant to say 1988. I said like me in the 80s, but that didn't come out quite that way. So it is quite possible that she did mean 1888 or 1788, for all I know. It's something I'll have to kind of delve into a little bit more, just to kind of find out and specify on that one. The main bits of evidence for it, and I am kind of inclined to agree that it's probably not 1988, aside from the fact that she says, I don't know, in one of the EVPs. It just didn't sound like an old-timey thing to say. But there is no documentation of a girl called Anna dying in the last 4 years. And I'm from the area. If a girl called Anna had died recently, I would have remembered it. You know what I mean? I'm from here in general. I moved into this house from pretty much up the road, so yeah, I've not heard anything locally. So the lack of documentation does kind of provide evidence towards a much earlier date. And kind of another thing, a lot of you ask me to tell you my feelings and stuff during these sessions, and during this one particularly, I got quite a big emotional response. Now, I think as some of you may have noticed, but when I was talking about her family and her friends, and I was asking if she wanted me to talk to any of them, and she was either not responding, or as I took it as a no, there's nobody I want you to talk to, I got just a real big sense of just sadness. You can see it in my face that my mood dropped. I can only kind of describe it as being a sense of loneliness. It's hard to put into words, but it almost felt like a state of depression, and I kind of had to change the subject quite quickly. I'm not necessarily saying that is emotional transference of any kind. It could be that the information I'd pulled from it, the fact that she was alone when she died and stuff, that might have just made me sad for her, but it could quite possibly have been emotional transference, and I was just kind of picking that up as we talked about the subject. It's hard to say, but there was a big sense of that in the room after them questions. And with the EVPs as well, there was another bit of a discussion going on about when I asked her where she goes when she's not here. I thought she said, I don't know. That's what it sounded like to me, but a couple of you actually sort of heard it as gone home or went home or something to that effect, and I think that's quite likely. She said she was from the area, so if if that's the case, it's not exactly a huge leap for her to have travelled back to where she was. But aside from the fact that it appears there wasn't much there for her, unless she sees the world differently to what we do, and her home is still there as she experienced it. So I don't know, either one. Like I say, all these questions, they have multiple answers despite having a definitive answer to go with it. It's just so many questions. The spirit that came in and touched my back before was neither Anna nor the spirit that's protecting me. It appears it was just a separate entity altogether. It didn't feel malicious, but it does concern me that they were able to just invite themselves to my home and leave at will. Like, that seems like something I'm gonna have to figure out how to avoid in future sessions. Like, I kind of do bring it on myself. Like, I'm not upset about it. I was trying to interact with a spirit, so I did welcome that. But I'm gonna have to research a little bit more into how to be more controlled in these sessions and make sure that I don't invite too many unknown entities or anything darker into future sessions. So that's just a couple of my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think, and continue the discussions. I'll keep chipping in if I can, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.